G'day, everyone, and welcome to the Single 3 podcast, where we talk about mental health and first responders. I'm your host, Robert Burns. Today, we have no guest. But, I just want to thank everybody for supporting this podcast, because it has actually come across as something that's kind of something everybody wants to talk about and is afraid to. But I've had several officers on here that I've known and several that I have not come on here and talk about their reasons for problems with mental health or their problems with friends that have had mental health. I always want to talk about issues with our mental health within first responders, firefighters, EMS, police, sheriff's department, state troopers, corrections officers within the county, state, however, and federal. We all experience it differently. And the thing I want to let everybody know is that we are here for you. Don't just take us as BS, as that we're trying to get on here for attention, because we're not. I got on this week, and I was just reading along, some stuff. And I went to the National Library of Medicine, and I read something that actually kind of made sense. The one thing it read is it said it's called Preventative Care in First Responder Mental Health, and I want to share this with you. So, focusing on access and utilization via stepped telehealth care. So they expect you to get on a screen and talk to somebody about your problems. I mean, I don't have any problems because that's what I do as my therapist right now. But it comes up with an abstract, and it says first responders are at high risk for disorders that arise from repeat exposures to stress and trauma, better known as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and problematic alcohol use. I was lucky, and I had a stepfather who was an alcoholic, and I didn't believe in the alcohol use. That just wasn't a thing for me, and I didn't go to pills either. Although mental health treatments are available, first responders often do not access them, anchored by barriers that include lack of knowledge, a stigma, negative experience with mental health providers, and time-based burdens. In this work study, we designed an intervention to address the barriers, extending planned action framework. Step 1. Involved self-report screening for 4 mental health risks: PTSD, depression, anxiety, and alcohol use risk. Now, I will be honest with you. Most people in this world will not do a self-assessment. Be realistic, people. They won't do a self-assessment. They will put their nose to the grindstone, keep on going because that's the way of the job and that's what's expected. Now, as for me, I didn't know what was going on, but my lieutenant, my captain noticed, and they kept on checking on me and kept on checking on me. And I guess it goes along with you got to have great support. If you don't have great support, it's not going to get noticed. It's going to go untraced, and, you end up an alcoholic, popping pills to, relate with it, other drug use, and it starts taking a toll on you and your family. So does PTSD, the depression, the alcohol use. It takes a risk on your family. So, that's the reason why I say reach out to somebody if you think there is an issue with yourself or others notice it. Don't just ignore it. It says on here that it's delivered to all personnel electronically who are free to either consent and participate or opt out. The detection risk in Step 1 led to scheduling a Step 2, telehealth appointment with a trained clinician. Now, here in Ohio, we are given that 1-800 number, and we call, and we're put in connection with somebody that is a provided therapist in our area that provides with our insurance. Now, I'm one of them people that, don't get me wrong, but if you're not comfortable with your therapist, change. If you're not getting the help that you think you need, change. That is your right. If you don't feel good about where you're going and what the path you're going in, if it's not helping you and it's actually making you worse, don't go. They report descriptive statistics and participation attrition, utilization steps 1 and 2, rates of risk, and 4 mental health variables, and rate adherence of follow-up treatment recommendations. Follow-up treatment. That's the big thing you have to understand here, people. Follow-up treatment. You have to follow up all the time. You don't just go to like one session and go, yep, I'm cured. I know exactly what my problem is. No. I've been going for almost a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I still don't have my problems under wraps. Can I cope with them better? Yes. Do I have the tools? Yes. Have I dealt with the issue that caused it? Nope. I'm too afraid to. On here it says step 1 in total, 53.3% of personnel, 229 of 429 full-time employees, 221 males, 8 females, 95% white, 48% paramedic or emergency technician, 25% captain, 19% engineer, and 7% other. Initially opt in by consenting and completing a brief remote screening survey, which means they didn't do it in purpose. I don't have nothing against this, but you know what? If you don't see the person in person, then you don't know what they're going through. You don't see their stemming. You don't see their hands going, everywhere. Their eyes dancing. Sometimes they don't have their screen on. There's so many things about this that I really don't like. Among those who opted in to complete, 229 to 43% screen positive for more of the following mental health risks. PTSD at 7.9%, depression at 9.6%, anxiety at 13.5%. Now get this, alcohol use at 36.7%. A maximum of 3 attempts were made to schedule at-risk individuals in step 2, which is 99 of those. Among 99 who demonstrated need for mental health treatment by screening a positive for one or more risk, 56% engaged in telehealth appointment. Of those 56 participated in step 2, clinical appointments, 38 were recommended for further intervention. 16.6% of the full-time personnel who participated among the 38 firefighters who were recommended to seek further mental health services, 29 were adherent, followed through, 76.3 of those received recommendations for further services. Now here's the thing I want to know. If they were recommended for further services, were they taken off, were they put on leave? Knowing that they were at risk for PTSD and depression and stress at that level. Were they given recommendation for alcohol detox or, for Alcoholics Anonymous to go through a detox program to help them? Taken together, evidence-based, culturally conscious step care models delivered via virtual telehealth medium can promote access, utilization, and cost-effective. See, that's the thing where I think it really sucks. Cost-effective. That's the big word in there. Now, it's cost-effective for them if you go ahead and go get quote-unquote fixed. But if it doesn't work, it's your fault, not theirs. That's the part that I really hate. And it's cost-effective for them for you to do telehealth because you don't have to do it in front of them, and they can use it on their insurance. Like, really? Because then you're actually going to go ahead and some of them, like here in House Bill 308 here in Ohio, which I've talked about before, you are put on a status that you're on mental health leave. You can only use it once your whole career for a year. It is workman's comp based. So if you get injured, you're screwed. But you can leave for a whole year for mental health. And you do that telehealth. And you update every week, like you go 1 to 2 times a week, maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, to talk to a counselor or a therapist. They put you on medication to help you, blah, blah, blah. I take medication, which is fine, but it doesn't help me all the way. You can't let medication run your life. I'm just saying, you got to take grasp, you got to take acknowledgement, you got to take responsibility for what's going on in your life. Sometimes it's very hard. I'm not saying that it's the same for everybody because it's not. Everybody's situation is different. Mental health services for first responders, implications are informing larger, more rigorous dissemination and implementation efforts. Now, don't get me wrong, there is an implementation of mental health within the ODRC. It's there. Don't get me wrong. It's just this after our CTA, it's kind of forgotten, thrown in the background. They talk, and don't be wrong, I do understand the inmates need mental health because there's more of them than there are of us. But it seems like that we are kind of put on the back burner when it comes to mental health. It just it kind of gets on my nerves that when I can go and email the warden and their secretary reads it and they talk about inmate mental health awareness and I ask, what about officers' mental health awareness? And I get taken to the office and asked why I sent that. Which means if I'm asking the question and they get mad about it, means somebody else is asking the question too. Which means there has to be some kind of recognition about what's actually going on in the system. We have lost too many officers, police, firefighters, first responders, period. I just put them all across the board. Due to suicide, alcoholism, mental health breakdown that have left and can't handle it. It's not the point that, you signed your name on the dotted line and you don't know what to do and you know what you signed up for. But a lot of us sign up for what we think we're doing is right, and later on down the line it traumatizes us. And then they're like, oh, you just must not have been able to handle the job, huh, big boy? When they themselves have never done the job. So how do they have the right to judge you? Am I right or am I wrong? Like your kids look at you and go, oh, you quit. Have your kids ever been a corrections officer, a police officer, a firefighter, ever been in the military? Have they ever been a state trooper? I'm just saying. It's not being rude or anything, but have they ever done your job? Because as they say, when you succeed, everybody succeeds. But when you fail by yourself. Everybody will be there to give you a pat on the back when you succeed and do something great. And they're proud of you for a short term, kind of like a honeymoon, feeling. And it's short term. But then when you fail, people look at you and go, what did you actually do? I could have done that. Did you? Nope, but I could have. Well, how do you know? I got a friend that did it, and he said it was easy as hell. Oh, so you have a friend that's done it, so you know it'd be easy. Okay, go do it. Well, I can't. I have this issue, that issue. Oh, so you got excuses now. That's the thing that ticks me off about people that can't join the military. I never joined the military. I was literally booted out at ASVAB. I'm not going to lie. Took my ASVAB, passed it. They sent my butt to Columbus. They weren't enlisting in Columbus for some odd reason for what I wanted to do. And I went to Chicago, passed MEPS on the weight, the whole 9 yards when I was in high school. Was getting ready to go. Put my hands to my side so they could measure my weight. They had me do rock back and forth and found out that I was flat-footed. And I never knew it. And the position I was applying for in the military said I couldn't be flat-footed. Do I hate them? No. It's their regulations and their policies. I couldn't get mad. But these people that go, oh, I didn't have time because I was with a girlfriend, or I didn't have time because I was doing this, or I didn't have time because I had extracurricular activities. Those are excuses. Did you even take the ASVAB? Well, no. Okay. Take it. It's just a test. Kind of like going ahead and hearing that boop. This is a test. Yeah, it's just a test. And it's an easy test, honestly, golly. I did the ASVAB and I saw a meme yesterday that kind of made me laugh, Had a kid that was sitting there and he was talking about he thought he was going to go to college, and the Marine recruiter looked at him and said, you just failed the ASVAB and you're going to attend college? I just thought it was kind of funny. On this paper, back to what we were talking about before, says serving as a firefighter involves chronic stress, trauma exposures incurred during occupational events such as structure fires, wildfires, traffic incidents, suicides, drug overdoses, sudden infant death syndrome, domestic violence scenes, and disasters. I can deal with that as a first responder. I will say that in a prison setting, we don't deal with fires or wildfires or traffic incidents, but we do deal with suicides, drug overdoses, In a funny way, we do deal with domestic violence issues, and we do deal with disasters, and we do deal with the fight or stabbing every so often. Me personally, I only dealt with one stabbing, and it was minor. But they hid the shiv, and that was that. You can't really prove anything on anything that's hid or thrown away after you've left. And inmates are very good about hiding things. Um, one of the things they say on here too is that evidence-based treatments are available for the common types of mental health problems that first responders are at risk for, including treatments for PTSD, prolonged exposure, cognitive processing, eye movement desensitization, and reprocessing. Now, eye movement desensitization actually killed it for me. I couldn't do it. It made it worse for me. They tried to get me to close my eyes and, re-deal with things. Couldn't do it. Depression was the cognitive behavioral therapy treatment approaches, notwithstanding the efficacy of evidence-based mental health treatments. Fewer than half of first responders in need of mental health care seek treatment. Now, have you heard that? Fewer than half. So, like, if you take that, say, 68% they mentioned on here, I think it was, and you're 56.6%, and you go ahead and you take half of that, and you go ahead and you have them go ahead and go for treatment, which is great. That's more than half, okay? And you just take that with what they said, and they said a lot of them, only 10% of those even sought treatment in a month. Which means, and they say on here that it was more than a year that people went ahead and sought treatment before they noticed anything was going on. And then they found out they were deep into alcoholism or deep into drug use, or they've gone through a divorce because of alcoholism, because of drug abuse. Or they've been arrested themselves for the same things that they've either arrested people for and they're in jail for now. It's just, we got to look out for each other if people aren't going to look out for us. And if you're a police officer listening to this, and your partner's going through the same thing, and you are in a good relationship with your partner, talk to your partner's spouse. I don't care who they are. Their family needs to know. You need to be there for them, and if there's something going on, be there for them. Same way if you're a corrections officer, first responder, period, across the line, as I said before. Be there for each other. Reach out for that hotline. And I've said before that, it's better to be there for them and let them understand that you're there for them. And I want to express this again, that if there is anybody that in suicide or crisis, that they can get on their cell phone and dial 988. That is a suicide response hotline, or the suicide and crisis lifeline. 988. And also, we all know the 1-800-suicide number. I want to go ahead and I want to come on here today too, and I want to say thank you to everybody, and thank you for showing your support with this. I really didn't expect to have this much of a support system with this, and I really want to say thank you to everybody. The one thing that I listen to a lot of motivational speakers, so I urge you to do the same thing, and that's where I sought my strength. Like, I love listening to David Goggins. It's the only Navy SEAL that's actually completed Navy SEAL and Green Beret training. Or Army Ranger training, Army Ranger. And I also listen to Eric Thomas. He's actually the number 2 underneath the number 1, who we all know is a motivational speaker. He's one of the number 1 ones you see on there, Tony Robbins. I want to tell you this, because one of the things that he said on there that kind of got me going, he said, I don't stop when I'm tired, I stop when I'm done. We are never done serving people. Now, in my case, I don't serve adults. I serve little people now. I'm a paraprofessional. And it's not the same stress. Everybody's going like, well, it's just little kids. I deal with kids with special needs and their behavioral issues. I'd rather deal with that right now than deal with something else. And, if later on in life, if I decide to go ahead and get back into corrections, then so be it. But I really don't go for a sponsorship because I don't look for that on here. But I urge you to go ahead and get on and look for David Goggins' book. It's called Can't Hurt Me. And it's an awesome book. Can't Hurt Me is probably one of the number 2 best books I have ever listened to. And then I also have the Eric Thomas book, which, just a second here, I'll see if I can find it here. Give me 2 seconds. Here it is, everyone. It's called Greatness is Upon You. And I bought this book online, and it came signed in the mail by Eric Thomas, which motivated me even more to read this. It came with a workbook. It goes into detail, to how to help yourself, the steps to help yourself, and it makes you better. And another book I want you to try and read if you can is how to... I want to try and quote this correct because every time I quote this book, I get it wrong. It's by Dale Carnegie. And it's called... Sorry, I think here. It's called... How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, I had a boss of mine that pushed me to read this book. And inside this book, it tells you to write down everything you read and take notes. And read it over twice. Now, I'll be honest with you, people. I do not read books. Not a lot. But I have a lot of books that I have read. And they are big chapter books. Now, you guys are on here going, oh my gosh, you can't even read the books. He doesn't know what he's talking about. No, it's not that. I'm being real on here. This is not scripted, people. This is coming right off the top of my head. And this is how I believe it ought to be. Be real, not scripted. I don't like being scripted because that's bullshit. That doesn't come from the heart. That comes from something you wrote to try and get followers. I'm not going to sit here and try that bullshit. I want to be real with everyone. Another book that he had also that I also read was How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. I was really big on public speaking back when I was younger because I was part of the JCs. And one book I loved reading after the fact that I got out of the JCs was The Art of Public Reading. And there was also one called The Quick and Easy Way to Effective Speaking. I love public speaking. I love getting on here. And me expressing and telling you guys what goes on helps me. And another book that helped me as well is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I highly recommend you guys read those. I also get on Spotify and on my way to work or sometimes during the day. I'll just pop headphones in and I'll just listen to some motivational stuff that's on Spotify. You can find it anywhere. And it'll just be remixes on Spotify about motivational speaking with music in the background. Anything to help you get through the day. And once again, I'm going to say thank you. Have a great day. And that wraps it up today. For once again, thank you for listening to the Signal 3 podcast. Like I said, Signal 3 is dedicated to officer in need of assistance here in Ohio. And I believe every officer is in need of assistance. I also want to go ahead and say thank you to Darby Creek here in London, Ohio, for therapy services they provide to me and other people as well. Their effectiveness is greatly ignored. And it needs to be noticed of what they do great for others. And also, again, like I said before, if you know anybody in trouble and needs to talk to somebody, remember to tell them that 1-800 suicide number, or tell them that, the first responder suicide, they can dial 988 on their phone, or if there's a 1-800 number that you were associated with for mental health needs within your system. Thank you, and have a great night, everybody.